Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Subcommittee Number 4 hearing on the Secretary of State's budget. Today we'll hear from the Secretary of State in the progress of addressing the backlog in business filings and maintaining the 5-day processing time objective that we recommended last year that was ultimately approved by the legislature and the governor. Secretary of State will also be giving us a progress update on their Business Connect IT project and whether it's on track to meet the June 2016 start date. The subcommittee members may recall last year we took action to increase the Secretary of State's budget so they could address their business filings backlog delays, which at that time exceeded 60 days. The objective for us last year was to have the Secretary of State lower their processing times down to 5 days and then to maintain it. I'm pleased to report that the Secretary of State has achieved the objective we set forth last year, and they continue to maintain the 5-day average processing time for business filings. So it's a mission accomplished, and we really appreciate the Secretary of State's a dramatic turnaround in this area. We also need to maintain the same focused oversight now on the Secretary of State's Business Connect IT project. When completed, that project will automate a paper-based process and allow businesses to file and request copies of records, allow businesses to file online and to request copies of records online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and provide better access to vital state records. Again, the Secretary of State and her department are to be congratulated in the achievements they have made. We look forward to working with you to get the much-needed automation of the business filings process done by the June 26th target, or hopefully earlier. I also want to thank the members of the Sub 4 committee for joining me last year in tackling this important problem for California businesses. What has been demonstrated is that the subcommittee can identify problems and focus on fixing those problems in state government, something I want us to continue to do this year. One more opportunity for comments from the public. Any comments from the public? If not, there are 4 items under the Secretary of State's budget, and I'll invite the Secretary of State's staff persons to come forward here. The first item is the update on business license filings. This is information only, this first item. Then the next 3 items require some type of action by this committee. Welcome to the meeting. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Kim Gauthier, and I'm the Deputy Secretary of State for Operations. And I'm here today as, unfortunately, Secretary Deborah Bowen was unable to attend. The main message that Secretary Bowen wanted me to convey to you today is one of thanks. Last March, when she was here, it was to talk about the backlog of business filings, as the chair indicated, which at that time was about 55 calendar days, which was actually down from a high of 133 days. Thanks to the infusion of cash provided by you and your colleagues in the Senate, the Secretary of State's office has been able to fill positions and bring those processing times down and keep them down. The impact of fully funding the office in a way it hadn't been funded since approximately 2007 has been dramatic. By the end of June, the average processing time for business entity documents dropped from 55 calendar days to 17. By July, the average was 13 calendar days. By September, it was 11. By October, it got as low as 3 business days, though the average for the month was approximately 6 days. Since October, the average processing time for both business entity documents and statement of information filings has fluctuated between 3 and 5 business days. And that includes the peak filing period, which is typically mid-December through mid-February. In addition to thanking all of you, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the chief of our Business Programs Division, Ms. Betsy Bogart, who is sitting right next to me today. Betsy and her team are responsible for this tremendous turnaround, along with the infusion of cash that you were so generous to provide and helped us get to where we are today and are working hard to maintain it. I also want to thank our partners who played an important role in getting us here today. That's the Department of Finance, the Department of General Services, and the Department of Technology. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but at this time I'll turn it over to Betsy Bogart, who will give you some of the specifics of how we reached this goal.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. With the infusion of the funding that you were so generous to provide us, we were successful in meeting the goal of 5 business days, and we have successfully maintained it since November. Some of the key things that we changed, we consolidated our hiring team and with both business programs division staff as well as human resources staff. And the partnership that we have with our human resources has helped us get through the state hiring process much quicker. We've also reviewed the entire process and shifted responsibilities to focus on core functionality within the division. We trained new staff on specific tasks, as opposed to training them on the entire function of that unit that they were put in. We trained them on specific tasks so that we could get them into production more quickly. And that helped not only meet the 5 days, but maintain the 5 days during our peak time in December through February. We also had daily stand-ups with our supervisors. So it's a very paper process that we're currently dealing with. And so daily, the supervisors had to talk to each other to decide where is the staff needed for that day's work. So with the supervisors and staff's humility, they were able to lead when they needed to lead and follow when they needed to follow. And it worked well, and it's continuing to work well. We're very grateful for the funding and certainly available to answer any questions the members may have.
Thank you. We're on item 1. Committee members, any questions or comments on this item? Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the presentation. I want to applaud you on the tremendous progress that's being made on the turnaround. You mentioned the peak periods of December through February, being able to manage that. Do you anticipate for this upcoming December and January time frame you'll be able to maintain that 5-day?
Yes, with the additional funding that you guys have provided and the additional limited term staff, we will continue to maintain it.
Any other questions or comments? If not, committee members, this is an information item. We appreciate the update and the background, and again, congratulations for the fast turnaround in your processing times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks for your assistance in achieving that.
Mr. Wagner has a comment?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I can't let this pass. Kudos, no question about it. When we, give you the extra money to fix a problem that had been languishing for a while, you guys really came through. But I think that kudos especially belong to the chairman, who has demonstrated that this legislature, with the role of oversight in its mind, can actually accomplish some things. I would hope that this is a lesson to other departments out there, and appreciate your work on keeping this front and center and jump-starting what had been a problem languishing in the administration for several administrations now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. It was a team effort, and we will have a chance to use some of the lessons learned in this department here in the coming weeks with EDD and some other state departments, some of the other departments and agencies in state government. So we'll hopefully apply some of the same the questions and practices to achieve better results. Thank you again. First item is informational only, and we'll go now to the second item, which the next 3 items are all budget items requiring some type of action. So please go ahead on your second item there.
So the second item is the California Business Connect, which is a continuation of The replacement of the additional funding that you provided us with the BPD backlog, our California Business Connect will actually automate what we do and allow us to, as the chairman mentioned, file documents online as well as requests for information. So we are here today seeking a continuation of funding authority in the amount of $4.592 million for fiscal year 2014-15, and here to answer any questions you might have.
You've given us the status update in terms of the schedule for this project. Do you feel you're on schedule to make the project available to your customers by June of 2016? And is there any chance that you might even exceed that timetable?
It's a little early to say that we would exceed the schedule, but we definitely are on track for June of 2016. The vendor came on board in January with the help of Legislative Analyst's Office, Department of Finance, Department of Technology. We were able to sign the contract ahead of schedule. So the vendor is onboarding now, and everything looks like we will still stay on track for June of 2016.
Any comments or questions from finance or LAO staff on this project? You're feeling positive about it? Good, good, good. I'm going to be recommending that we request that we receive quarterly updates on this project, so that if there are any problems or delays that arise, we can invite other parties in state government to assist. But I think those quarterly reports will be helpful in any case, so that you can report on the progress. This document, though, is very helpful. It's very thorough, and it lays out your timetable and all the various costs and so forth. You know, the notion of going to completely online filings, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week availability is really fabulous. And
it's very exciting for us also.
Committee members, questions or comments? If not, a motion to approve this item as budgeted and to require the Secretary of State to report back to this committee on a quarterly basis, a written report on a quarterly basis on the progress of Business Connect will be appreciated. There's a motion and second. Roll call vote, please.
Daley?
Aye.
Morrell? Aye. Mullen? Aye. Nazarian? Yes. Wagner? Aye.
Thank you. Earlier in the hearing, I invited public comments. Are there any public comments? I don't see any. All right. Thank you. Item number 3. This is the Help America Vote Act, along with Vote Cal. And again, this is a budget item where we'll need to approve the recommendation. Welcome.
Welcome, or thank you, Mr. Chairman. Susan Lapsley, Deputy Secretary of State at the Secretary of State's office.
Irene Way, VoteCal Project Director.
And as Deputy Secretary of State, I am also the HAVA coordinator for the office. We are requesting 2 HAVA-related budget items. One, approximately $5.1 million of federal funding to fund our general activities related to HAVA, and then approximately $4.8 million for our VoteCal project. Right now, the VoteCal project is on schedule and on budget. And we will take any questions that you may have.
Any questions on these 2 items? As was stated, both involve federal funds. Any questions or comments? Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. I understand that there was a state auditor's report regarding the Secretary of State's management of HAVA funds. And I understand there was a recommendation for the department to renegotiate its agreement with U.S. Department of Justice. I guess the issue was ensuring that the Secretary of State's office has maximum flexibility in how to spend the HAVA funds. So the question is just a status of that. We're negotiating negotiation attempts made with DOJ, and if so, what were the results of that conversation?
We did. We had a BSA audit that came out in August of last year, and their recommendation was to attempt to negotiate the MOA, which has been in place since 2005, for the interim solution on our statewide database. We reached out to US DOJ over the course of approximately 6 months and finally got a response back from them saying that no, that they were not interested in renegotiating the MOA with us.
Well,
I think they may have said a little bit nicer, but that was the gist
Okay.
of it.
Well, just want to make sure those attempts were made.
We did.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Wagner.
Quickly, when will, and if so, when will the HAVA funds run out? And what's your expectation of general fund obligations if and when that happens?
All right, so at this point, the VoteCal has the majority of the HAVA funds earmarked. At this point, we're looking at approximately $25 to $35 million to be remaining, assuming that everything goes as planned, as projected, money-wise, time-wise, on VoteCal. After that, we'll have ongoing M&O, maintenance and operation, on it that we're estimating is going to be about $5 million. That's what they've estimated for the first year of maintenance and operation. We won't truly know until we get to that point and see what the system takes to keep it ongoing. So $5 million into 5 years before it hits the general fund.
$5 million in 5 years,
$5 million each year for maintenance and operation.
beginning.
Beginning in, we've already have it earmarked through, Irene, correct me if I have these dates wrong, we already have it earmarked for 16-17, so the first time it would hit the general fund would be 17-18.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We need a motion to approve these two expenditures of federal dollars. Motion and second. Roll call vote, please.
Daley?
Aye.
Morrell? Mullen? Nazarian? Wagner?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The last item under the Secretary of State budget requests involve a package of 3 items that are included in the governor's budget. Christian, do you want to summarize these, or do you have any comments you want to make on these 3 items? Is there a presentation from the Secretary of State on these? All right. Christian, quick summary, please.
Christian Griffith for the Assembly Budget Committee. There were 3 proposals in the governor's budget that looked like they were non-controversial, involving the transfer of state records management to the Secretary of State, the Safe at Home application program, and the facilities operations increase, which was a technical adjustment, and staff recommends approval of these 3 proposals.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on these final pieces of the Secretary of State's budget? If there are no questions, a motion's in order. Motion and second. Roll call vote, please.
Daley?
Aye.
Morrell? Mullen? Nazarian? Wagner?
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Secretary of State's staff, and to the LAO and Department of Finance. We have our next hearing a week from today at 1:30. We'll be back at it. This hearing's closed. Thank you.